Ask Reddit by Tweed Stoner. People who have straight up rage quit a job. What was the final straw? I worked for a call center for at a damp tea. I refused to try and sell a DirecTV package to a woman who was literally bawling her eyes out on the phone because she was having to switch her phone plan to her name instead of her husband's name because he had just died. Hey, I left at a damp tea over the same reason. Lady calls in to cancel her deceased husband's phone line. She's a mess. I'm a mess. My stepdad had just passed away a few weeks prior. My supervisor is up my ass wanting me to keep her in contract, upsell, etc. I cancelled the account, got off the phone with her, and walked the fuck out. My manager's boss did a surprise inspection and my boss wrote me up for doing my job the exact way he trained me. Apparently when he trained me he was cutting corners. I got fired for this exact thing. Doing the job exactly as I had been trained by the manager. Amazing. I was a receptionist for a medical software company. Boss refused my request for a single day off to take my teen daughter to get eye surgery. I waited until the first day of her 2-week vacation and put in my notice. Ruined her holiday. Wanna be friends? I like how you think. The company told me I was to enforce 2 new policies. 1. All employees must report to work 15 minutes early for their shift, however they would not be paid for that time. 2. All employees must take their unpaid lunch break in specific areas, under very specific circumstances. I told them we needed to have a meeting to discuss the legality of their new policies before I could enforce them on my team. They replied, either you enforce the policies or you resign your position. I said see ya. They begged me to reconsider and to not make a bad decision just because I was upset. Unfortunately I was already out the door. Don't suppose they told you any of that in writing? Might be something worth reporting. Especially the first one. I was waiting tables while I was in grad school. I had requested a weekend off far in advance, right after I got my syllabus, because there was a seminar pertinent to a class. Our professor expected us to go and write a paper. It was a decent chunk of our grade. The weekend comes up and lo and behold, I'm scheduled doubles Friday through Sunday. I hunt down the manager and say I can't do that and I've given months notice. She pulls the requests are just requests not guarantees and I tell her point blank I will fail this class if I don't go. She shrugged, she said that isn't my problem. I told her is now and left. Like hell I was going fail a class for my master's degree waiting tables at a fucking rainforest cafe. I really don't get why managers act like this. Why be a jerk? I know it's power tripping and jealousy, but it's shocking to me how prevalent it is. I say jealousy BC, the boss knows your degree will allow you to get away from that job someday. This was 20 years ago. My fiancée had been hospitalized for 16 months after a car accident. When she passed away my boss would not let me have time off for bereavement because we were not legally married. I was screamed at for wanting time off for my mom's burial because you already had time off for the funeral. The funeral was one weekend and the burial was the following. I worked Monday Friday but those 2 weeks they wanted me in on Saturday and Sunday too. I told her she could fire me if she wanted but I'd see her Monday. She tried to make my life hell but when everyone else found out about it they made her life hell and she quit a few months later. Many years ago while working in a manufacturing facility, my boss came into work already pissed off because his wife served him divorce papers. Saying good morning was apparently enough to set him off and he picked up a wrench from the table and threw it at my head. I ducked, it missed, then I just closed my toolbox and wheeled it to the truck lol. Dipshit is lucky he didn't connect. That would have been a hell of a police report and lawsuit. Was having a meeting with the boss who was a difficult guy to work with, and he stood up and punched the wall. He wasn't doing it jokingly. He bare knuckled went at the wall of his own office like he was in the gym hitting a punching bag. I sat there in astonishment for about 2 seconds, then stood up and left. Cleared out my desk, exited through the back door without a word to anyone. There's no place for that conduct in the professional world, even if the guy does own the company. WTF? What a man-child. Could you imagine if you acted that way towards him? ? What job was this? I was vomiting in the parking lot every day before walking into my job from stress. Then one day I was kicked in the teeth, literally, by one of the clients, and my boss would not let me leave to go to the dentist. I went anyway, was docked pay for my time at the emergency appointment, and then they begged me not to sue. I quit. Did you sue? I never have, but my favorite example was when a co-worker in student transportation, who had finally gotten a position she wanted after years of suffering through stress in another, was called by management over the summer and told she was being reassigned to the stressful position because no one else wanted to do it. She had fought too long and hard to get what she wanted, and her immediate response was, "Then tell me what I need to do to resign." She did, and she's been at peace with her decision ever since. Holy shit, I've been there. It ended up working out, but kind of the same thing. I found out I was denied a bunch of promotions or transfers because my boss in the deli needed me too much to let me go. I called the manager, union rep, anyone who would listen. My proposition was easy enough: if the department can't stand to lose me, then the entire store will. I had a lot more reasonable arguments, but I think I had them with that. I start my new position Monday. I was exhausted, had been working 50+ hour weeks, and couldn't wait until Christmas break. I was the only person out of 25 required to work Saturday mornings on a 6-week fundraiser in addition to my regular hours. Others were only scheduled once. I was scheduled all 6 Saturdays. Finally, a foreign colleague wanted to work Christmas so she could go to her home country early in the next year. The entire office was supposed to be closed for those 2 weeks. The boss picked me to be with her and refused to let me say no. I didn't want to take a break later when the rest of my family would have been off over Christmas. And I couldn't bear to have waited another 2 weeks, as I was barely hanging on right then. She wouldn't let it go, so I quit. The boss decided to work with her herself. That was fine with me. The mystery is why it had to be me or her out of 25 co-workers. Well, not my problem. Boss was trying to get you to quit to avoid unemployment. You could have filed a constructive dismissal claim. Godfather's Pizza. The manager wouldn't give me my paycheck at 8 PM on Sunday because the money might not be in the account yet, but I could pick it up at 9 AM Monday. This was decades ago, before direct and mobile deposits. The bank wouldn't be open until the next day anyway. All of the paychecks were literally in his hand at that moment. There were lots of issues before that, but that was the final sign that the manager was completely uninterested in reason. In the next few weeks nearly everyone else quit, then the manager was finally fired. When I was written up for having an attitude towards someone who wasn't management, but who did tell on me after my perceived attitude offended them. Not me, but a colleague once wrote a long stinker of an email, hit send at 10:30 AM and exited the building immediately. He blind copied all receivers but sent it to multiple departments of a large multinational I was working at. No one knew who didn't get the email, except for the gasps and OMGs around the office. He was completely disgruntled, and went in on multiple managers, supervisors and various colleagues with absolute venom. It was amazing. Still the best work email I've ever received, and some shit he called out actually had to be addressed by management. It brought about a lot of positive change. If you're out there, Khalil, that was awesome. We had a co-worker do that too. She was the accountant and exposed a lot of sketchy stuff that was being done in multiple areas. And all the stuff she overheard. The CEO had to address the whole company about it because no one knew who didn't get the email. I was a supervisor of housekeeping at a hotel. Every holiday all of management would take off, leaving me the highest in charge. I asked for a raise after working a full year of holidays as the only management and was denied the next year on the biggest party day in the city. I set all my employees up with their work and texted the managers a picture of me at the bar partying, telling them the hotel might be on fire. I don't know, I quit. Nice. Got any reactions? The boss told me I should be sleeping at his house because that's the level of dedication he needed from me. Bye. Please tell me you're joking. Was promised that if I got my accounting degree they would move me to IA so I could get hours towards my CPA. Worked my ass off, graduated, and the boss said yeah, we're going to move you to customer service. Sound good? Stayed late that night drafting a company-wide fuck you email. Probably shouldn't have done that in hindsight, but some bridges just beg to be burned. Khalil? The owner of the company told me to fire a woman for arriving to work right on time. It was always something different with him, some ridiculous new rule that he applied retroactively to suit whatever mood he was in on any given day. And that particular morning, he took it as a personal insult and a show of blatant disrespect that his employees didn't arrive early. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't fire this woman, who I didn't even particularly like, to satisfy this new whim of his. So instead of firing her, I marched into his office and quit myself. Funnily enough, the woman I wouldn't fire continued working for him for years. She might even still be there now, 20 some years later. Some say she's still there today, not at 7:59 am, not at 8:01 am but at 8 am on the button, still pissing him off for being on time. I was flat out lied to about the position. It was a management position at a residential mental health facility and I had taken it, leaving a great paying but stressful position, because it wouldn't require travel and was supposed to be much more laid back. On top of many other issues, I ended up having to work 8 weeks straight without a single day off, even weekends and one holiday. So after a very heated meeting with upper management where one person was flat out lying to cover their own butt, I sent a resignation email from the parking lot. 8 weeks straight? What the fuck was this at a field hospital during World War II? Was told I did not have experience to move up. Hired a person with 1/20th of my experience in that position. I wonder which of the managers they were related to. When I was driving home and my blood pressure shot through the roof cause somebody was driving the same make, model and color car as the boss. Obviously that wasn't the straw, just the recognition that there was to be no more straws. It's great that you know yourself so well that you can draw that conclusion. A lot of us are envious of that ability. Well, I'm genuinely about to right now after my manager told me our dishwasher is broken and won't get fixed until at least Thursday and I have to pull solo shifts next week, because we are seriously understaffed after 2 people were let go in January, despite me telling management repeatedly that we actually need more people to account for all the vacation days and sick leaves happening right now. Update. Apparently restarting fixed the broken dishwasher. So that's at least one problem off my back. Do it and don't turn back. My boss cursed me because I took a phone message for him, because he was already on a call. Apparently he was eagerly awaiting the call I answered and would have preferred I interrupted him. I threw a pencil at the wall, said, "Do I look like a mind reader? Cut me my check." I quit. He tried hard to backpedal but there had been many previous straws. This is one of those ones where I wish we could view multiple realities, because I promise you, if you could go and interrupt him, you'd get told off for that too. My dad was in the ICU and I got put on a performance plan since I missed 3 days in a row. Best thing I ever did was rage quit that job with nothing lined up. Got a job a few months later and I'm extremely happy there. I was 16 working at a gas station. Owner went on a hunting trip, his wife came in and opened the safe, took money, left. I was accused of stealing it. I pointed out I didn't have the combination, and the receipts for the day I worked that weekend didn't add up to what was gone. He called the cops, admitted to them that only he and his wife had the combination. He was fucking moron. Got told by my boss that he doesn't give a shit if I don't have time to spend with my son. Quit on the spot. Fam, I would have done the same. Never ever will I work for anyone that would say some shit like that to me.